ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਐਂਡ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਸੀਜੇ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਸ਼ੋਅ। ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਐਵਰੀ ਥਰਸਡੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਰੂਬਰੂ ਹੋਈਦਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਈ ਦੀ ਹੈ, ਮੋਸਟਲੀ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਸ਼ੀਅਨਸ ਬਟ ਸਮਟਾਈਮਸ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਸਟ। if it's a mental health issue, we can talk about that. If it's a medical issues, then I bring the doctors, but mostly politicians. And it's very important. These people work very hard so they can give you first-hand information in their portfolios. And before I do that, I start with the opening remarks or what is happening in the world. As you know, Iran war is still going on. It's very unfortunate, and President Trump getting a lot of pressure, but Hezbollah already rejected the peace talk between Lebanon and a ceasefire. They said we are not going to end the war. President getting impatient. He yelled at Netanyahu a couple of days ago on the phone call. And so it's a bada jada time, crucial time chal raha hai. We'll understand. Iran, they thought it will be easy for them to take them down, but boy oh boy, they standing their ground, and now they have issues. So ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਵਾਂ ਵਾਰ ਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡਰੋਨਸ ਆ ਉਹ $15-20 ਦੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ, ਐਂਡ ਦ ਮਿਸਾਈਲਸ ਐਂਡ ਐਂਟੀ ਮਿਸਾਈਲਸ ਦੇ $2-3 million. ਸੋ ਇਹ ਵਾਰ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੇਮ ਚੇਂਜਰ ਹੈ. ਸੇਮ ਥਿੰਗ ਹੈਪਨਿੰਗ ਵਿਦ Russia and Ukraine, and that Ukraine specialize in making those drones, and war is not good for anybody anyways. But so Iran war is still going on. The gas prices skyrocketed. We see a little bit of break, fair utte chali jandi hai. So anyways, it will be very interesting to see, or hope to see this ends. Then we come back to Canada. Prime Minister Carney announced artificial intelligence strategy, and he promised over $2 billion funding, and that will create 250,000 jobs by 2031. It's a very important, because we are way behind in the technology. And believe it or not, artificial intelligence in businesses overall, only 15% businesses and people use that. So if we look at the Europe or friends in the South, we are way behind. So that was a good strategy. It was long overdue, and they announced that, and looking forward to it. There are a lot of good work done by the Prime Minister in a lot of areas, so it's very interesting to see that. As you know, our local provincial news, BC Conservative elect Carrie Lynn Finley, she won with a very small margin with Carolyn Elliott, and with 0.5% roughly, and she won that on a fourth ballot. So it was a close race, and I will ask my guest today what's her comments, but a lot of people are not happy. She is not center-right, she is a right-wing, and even Premier EB called her mega manager. So comparing her with the Trump. So will be interesting to see. I think for NDP it's a good news, but for BC Liberal wing and former BC United members is kind of, I talked to a few people today, they said bring Kevin Falcon back. I don't know where that party stand or where the BC Liberals, but there is always conversation behind the scenes is going on. And a lot of people said, oh man, Kevin Falcon could have stuck around, but politics is a blood sport, and you never know, and especially in British Columbia, there is no surprises about that. Another breaking news, everybody seen that, Surrey Police Chief Norm Lipinski was either you could call her fired or ousted. The way they did it was not very professional. ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ board chair ਸੀ, he was not, Surrey Police board chair was not there at that day. So he right away resigned it. Now another member today resigned, and so it's a lot of confusion and conversation. But in the meantime, he was replaced by Deputy Chief Constable Todd Matsumoto. We'll see. It's a the crime is out of control in Surrey, I tell you. The extortion and the killings and gang war, I tell you, it's not a very good news. So interesting to see how the new chief and how they will handle it. The transition, they gone too fast. They were not ready for that. They could have been a seamless transition. They could have kept RCMP side by side. I know they're still working there, but it's a very sad news that a lot of people, small businesses are suffering. So these are the breaking news, international, then our Canadian, then provincial and city news. But I'm here for a different topic today, that bottom of my heart as well, and a lot of people, and the racialized communities and racism, and so I couldn't find a better person. It's Amna Shah. She elected as a MLA in 2024 from Surrey Centre for New Democratic Party. And she's new to the politics, but everybody starts from somewhere. But and she came to this country at a very young age from Malaysia. Went to high school here, Johnston Heights Secondary School. She's a parliamentary secretary now for racism, and I think mental health as well. Welcome, Amna.
Thank you so much, CJ, for having me on your show.
Okay, well, let's start with the topic. Why don't we start with the political news of, what do you think of Carolyn Finlay being
the new leader of the Conservative Party of British Columbia? Well, it was, I suppose, quite a nail-biter for the folks that were watching the race. And, of course, first and foremost, I will congratulate Carrie Lynn for her election as their leader. Of course, I mean, I've heard from community members who are quite concerned about what this means for BC politics. I think we've seen Ms. Finlay engage in some harmful rhetoric, even amongst her own peers. And we saw the case with Peter Milabar, who was really essentially targeted by Ms. Finlay for having family that is Indigenous. And I think it concerns me as to where politics are in this province and how polarizing they can be. And so my real hope is that Carrie Lynn Finlay will really try to be a representative of all British Columbians as she starts her work as the leader of the BC Conservatives. And if not, well, we're certainly going to do everything that we can to fight for British Columbians and all of the opportunities that should be afforded to them, regardless of their race, their ethnicity, and where they come from and what they believe. So certainly these are interesting times. I heard that the race was quite close.
Very close.
And so there's much for us to see in the coming days about how all of this is going to shape up.
ਸੋ ਐਮਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਉਰਦੂ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਪਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣ ਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਕੈਰੀਲਿਨ ਫਿਲਨੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ। ਸੋ ਐਮਨਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕੰਗ੍ਰੈਚੁਲੇਸ਼ਨ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਈ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ। ਪੋਲਿਟਿਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੂਗਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਪੀਟਰ ਮੈਲੋਬਾਰ ਦੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਬਾਰੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵਾਈਫ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਇੰਡੀਜੀਨਸ, ਉਸ 'ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਟੈਕ ਕੀਤਾ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹਸਬੈਂਡ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੁਸਲਿਮਸ ਦੇ ਅਗੇਂਸਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੌਮੈਂਟ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਕੀਤੇ ਸੀਗੇ। ਸੋ ਉਹਦੇ ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਲੇਬਲਸ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਲੱਗੇ। ਹੁਣ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਹਾਊ ਸ਼ੀ ਹੈਂਡਲਸ, ਲਾਈਕ Amna said, moving forward, taking that role, and see how she keep the caucus together, because the conversation I'm hearing outside and in the political circles right now is not a good news, but I will congratulate her as well. And when you come to this kind of role, they change their attitude and their maybe platform will be nice, because you're serving the community regardless one way or the other. But I don't think in Canada or British Columbia extreme views are not welcome here, because that's what we are here to talk about, Amna. So talking about that, the extreme views, the anti-racism, and you are the parliamentary secretary, and I seen that recently Nikki Sharma is Attorney General and Deputy Premier, and that committee and anti-racism data committee, just Urdu ਜੇ ਮਾੜੀ ਮੋਟੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਤੇ English ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰ ਹੀ ਦੇਣੇ, otherwise I will summarize that.
That's perfect. तो ज़रा सा mix कर सकते हैं English और उर्दू में. तो on Monday हमने एक काफ़ी large or significant announcement की थी Civic Plaza में, Surrey City Centre में, in my home riding, where we launched our first ever anti-racism action plan. और ये जो action plan है, the purpose of it is to take away the systemic barriers that people who are racialized face, that indigenous communities face when they're accessing government services, core government services, which ends up impacting their life. क्योंकि हमको पता है, CJ, I know you'll agree with me, कि it doesn't matter कि हम किधर से हैं, हम कैसे लगते हैं, हम पंजाबी हैं, हम पाकिस्तानी हैं या इंडियन हैं, हर किसी को opportunities afford करनी चाहिए equally. And what we know is कि जो government की services हैं, जो government systems हैं, ये इस तरह की considerations नहीं ली गई थी जब इन्होंने systems develop किए थे. तो इसलिए the work that we're doing, ये जो काम है, is so important for the success of our neighbors, of our communities, क्योंकि हमको पता है कि जब हमारी community successful होगी तो हर किसी के लिए success आएगा, and we want to see that in the province.
And you're बिल्कुल आप सही बात कर रहे हो, क्योंकि you know there is I'm a Sikh and I'm in the country been a long time, and you are from a Muslim community, Sikh community. And you know, when we look at each other, we don't see each other any differently, you know. So ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਂਟੀ ਰੇਸਿਜ਼ਮ ਦਾ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਾਫੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, ਐਂਡ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿਸਟੈਮਿਕ ਰੇਸਿਜ਼ਮ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਅੰਡਰ ਦਾ ਰਗ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦੱਬ ਦੇਈਦਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਐਮਨਾ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ। ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਫੋਨ ਲਾਈਨਸ ਓਪਨ ਹੈ। ਇਫ ਯੂ ਹੈਵ ਐਨੀ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਵਿਦ ਐਮਨਾ, please call. Our numbers are running on the screen. Is 604-695-9555. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਕਾਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਛ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, ਬਟ ਵੀ ਵਿਲ ਫੋਕਸ ਔਨ ਰੇਸਿਜ਼ਮ, ਨਾਟ ਐਨੀ ਅਦਰ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਟੁਡੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਰੇਸਿਜ਼ਮ ਹੀ ਐਡਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਆ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੇਸਿਜ਼ਮ ਫੇਸ ਕੀਤਾ, ਦੈਨ ਯੂ ਕਾਲ ਐਂਡ ਲੈਟ ਅਸ ਨੋ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਐਮਨਾ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਵਟ ਇਜ਼ देयर ਪੁਆਇੰਟ, ਐਂਡ ਆਈ ਕੈਨ ਗਿਵ ਮਾਈ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਆਫ ਵਿਊ. ਆਈ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਸਪੀਕ ਅਬਾਊਟ दैट. ਸੋ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਫੀਲ ਫਰੀ ਟੂ ਕਾਲ ਅਸ. Amna, so you know, when we talk about systemic racism, तो मैं इनको बताता हूँ कि जो नीचे दबा होता है, you know, body language or promotions or not on the board, and that's racism is not just a color-based racism. You know, indigenous people, they suffer quite a bit, if not more than other communities. So उसके बारे में आपका क्या ख्याल है?
जी, it's something that has been going on for generations. हमको पता है, you know, from back when some of the first pioneers of our South Asian community arrived, जब यहाँ पे आए थे, उन्होंने कैसी तरह से racism experience की थी, very damaging, hurtful, जो intergenerational trauma भी देती है, you know, सारी ख़ानदानों में, families में, और we're also trying to work to undo some of those harms within our racialized communities or हमारी indigenous communities maybe, क्योंकि indigenous communities specifically एक distinct type of racism face करते हैं हमारी systems में, and so we want to make sure कि हम indigenous led and collaborated जैसे initiatives कि हम उनके ऊपर work करें, और we can launch that through some of our ways in which we're tackling racism in our services. Now, हमको पता है कि हमारी South Asian community में, and this is just an example for us to understand कि ये anti-racism plan का क्या मतलब है, ये इससे क्या होगा.
Yes.
तो हमारी South Asian community में हमको पता है कि काफ़ी एक chronic diseases present हैं. तो हम अपने अंकल्स और आंटीज़ को देखते हैं तो काफ़ी प्रेवलेंट होते हैं, उनको डायबिटीज़ होती है या हार्ट कंडीशंस होते हैं। तो ये हमारी कम्युनिटी में प्रेवलेंट क्रॉनिक डिजीज़ हैं। और जो हमारा हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम था वो इस तरह की क्रॉनिक डिजीज़ विद इन कम्युनिटी के लिए स्ट्रैटेजीज़ इनके पास नहीं थी, क्योंकि वो रेसिज्म, एंटी रेसिज्म के लेंस वो अप्लाई नहीं करते थे जब वो असेस करते थे।
उसका रीज़न ये था कि पहले पुराने टाइम में सेंसिटिविटी बहुत थी, तो क्वेश्चन पूछना कि स्पेशली, and then some people get very upset that why you're singling us out. पर जैसे आपने बताया कि डायबिटीज़ है, and same thing with the high blood pressure and heart problems, arthritis भी बहुत अपनी साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटी में। सो जो डाटा है इतना ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि डाटा के बेस पे मेडिकल जैसे आपने बताया, सो दीज आर ऑल बॉर्डर लाइन थिंग्स बट दे ऑल are very important to address.
Yes, and they're all interconnected too.
Totally.
Yeah, तो हमने जो research किया था through our Anti-Racism Data Act, हमने जो information collect की थी, और जो हमारी Anti-Racism Provincial Anti-Racism Committee थी, उन्होंने काफ़ी काम किया था information collect करने का। And one of the things that they noted was कि हमारी जो ethnic communities हैं उनमें जो ये health issues prevalent हैं वो address नहीं कर रहे हैं हमारी ministries। तो through this anti-racism plan, which has 37 commitments to accomplish over the next 2 years.
Action plan, right?
Exactly. We have one which is very important, and that is for the Ministry of Health to look at a strategy for battling chronic conditions within ethnic communities. और ये काफ़ी significant बात है, क्योंकि ये acknowledge करता है कि हमारी communities important हैं, और उनके जो health issues हैं, उनके जो chronic diseases हैं, they're just as important as any other community that exists. So really ये जो हम anti-racism initiatives की बात करते हैं, ये किसी community को pedestal पे रखने के लिए नहीं है, ये सिर्फ एक acknowledgement है कि इससे पहले हमारी communities को ये opportunity नहीं मिली थी, तो इसलिए इनके लिए opportunities for good health, economic prosperity भी उनको नहीं मिली हैं। तो through this work we can get everybody at the same level to be able to get the same opportunities as anybody else.
Very well said, Amna, because अभी थोड़ी देर पहले ही अपने census जो होके हटा है 2026 का, census में भी we will encourage people first of all complete the census.
Absolutely.
क्योंकि उसमें डाटा मिलेगा, फिर उसमें some language के question भी होते हैं. If you tell them that certain languages you speak, then the governments, like let's see for example Punjabi speaking, if they say they're Punjabi, that gives them a data, ताकि स्कूलों में अभी कई स्कूलों में लगाई है, but they have to be enough people to support the class or number of people. तो डाटा कलेक्शन जो आपकी कमेटी इसमें भी है, रेसिज्म, एंटी रेसिज्म डाटा कमेटी, उसका रोल भी बहुत ज़रूरी है, और उसके साथ साथ जो एक्शन प्लान है अभी जो सामने आया है, whatever came forward through this work so far is going on since 2022. तो उस समय से लेके अब तक what are the findings normally जो आपने देखी हैं कि सामने आई?
तो हमने जब एंटी रेसिज्म डेटा कमेटी को एस्टैब्लिश किया था और एक्ट को एस्टैब्लिश किया था 2022 में, the purpose of that was
and it's a law now.
It is a law now, yes, absolutely. ये गवर्नमेंट को पावर्स दी थी कि वो इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट कर सकें, क्योंकि हमको एग्जामिन करना है कि हमारा काम किधर करना है, because you can't address something you cannot understand.
Totally.
So
or you don't know.
Yes,
what's
or that
going
we
on.
don't know. So we wanted to have the raw data to collect, or वो जो committee है or data act, we report every year on what the findings are in the collection of the data. तो ये जो हमने जो 37 commitments established किए हैं have been informed by that data that has been collected.
Okay, based on that.
Based on that data. And additionally, we've had our provincial committee on anti-racism, जिसमें काफ़ी very skilled और लोग हैं जिनकी बहुत सी expertise हैं जिन्होंने contributions किए हैं from variety of different communities, जिन्होंने address किया कि हमने कैसा काम करना है हमारी communities के लिए.
So I was looking for those
Yes.
list, Amna, and I see the wide, diverse community or member on that committee. Pretty much lot of ethnic groups.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's good to see that different cultures. So that's the whole purpose that we can understand.
And additionally we went out and consulted with community too. So जो मेरा काम था this past year has been very very busy because we want to make sure कि हम हर किसी के साथ consult करें. हमारी government ने 23 organizations के साथ partner भी किया था कि वो हमारे behalf पे research कर सकें अपनी communities में and bring that data back to us. क्योंकि हमको पता है कि government doesn't have years to do this work. We want to make sure that people feel that they can trust the person who is collecting the information from them.
Yeah.
और ये जो organizations हैं, they do great work in our communities. And तो लोग उनको trust करते हैं और उनके साथ data share करते हैं. तो हमने इन organizations को funding दी थी कि वो हमारी community में जाके consultations कर सके, and that informed our work. I've had the pleasure to be able to meet with actually all of them, and really one message is very clear from everybody, and that is we need to do a lot more to protect vulnerable people. So jab hum, one of the actions which is relevant to Surrey is through the action plan, we are going to review and tighten up the rules and regulations around immigration consultants. And ये इसलिए कर रहे हैं क्योंकि हमको पता है कि जो लोग यहाँ पे नए आते हैं, sometimes उनको एक dream इन्होंने sell की हुई है कि कनाडा आ जाएं, सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा, आपको सब कुछ मिल जाएगा, और बहुत से पैसे लेते हैं लोगों से, और फिर भी जब लोग आ जाते हैं फिर भी उनसे repeatedly पैसे लेते हैं, or people feel trapped.
That's very unfortunate.
And people feel trapped. And so we want to make sure कि ये जो dream हम sell कर रहे हैं internationally लोगों को, कि that is an accurate picture of what it means to be in Canada. आपको पता है, मुझको पता है, कैसी struggles हमारे families, हमारे neighbors, what they go through just to live here, right? Or I think we have to be very honest. कि अगर आप Canada आएंगे तो it won't be a rosy picture for everybody, right?
And अपने very nicely said, क्योंकि जो भी अपने ancestor आए हैं, वो history over 100 years, 100 plus years, तो उसमें जो भी struggle किया है, I can tell about I've over 40 years in Canada. You know, you start from being a professor, start from scratch as a laborer, and that's fine. You have to, if you want to build yourself to a certain level. But you are right. Any rosy picture नहीं हुंदी, क्योंकि लोकी कई बारी दस दिंदे कि बड़ा वहाँ पे यहाँ पे कोई खजाना थोड़ी खुला. You have to pay your dues. and मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. And दूसरा जो सबसे बड़ी बात है, learning तौर तरीके, हर देश के अपने rules and regulations, and you know, हर देश के जो तौर तरीके हैं, you have to learn that, and you know, and contribute.
Yeah, and contribute back to community. So the purpose of the anti-racism action plan is very simple. लेकिन जो काम हमने करना है, ये हमारे घर से करना है. तो इसलिए हमने इस plan really focus किया हमारी own services जो हम provide करते हैं through government, and how to eliminate the systemic barriers that exist within that. And then as we renew our anti-racism plan, the next one is in 2028.
Yes.
We're going to see how we've done in these 2 years in which all of these items have to be accomplished, and see where else we need to put investments in or what else we need to further. So what I really like about this, जो मुझको really बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि ये short period of time है, 2 years of time, और ये reasons why we chose 2 years is because of accountability. We want to be accountable for the work that we do. And if अगर हम किसी को जाके कहेंगे कि you have to prioritize anti-racism work, we want to be the ones to do that work ourselves. हमने अपना example show करना है कि it's important to us so that others can understand why it's so important for our entire province.
And उसके साथ साथ ये भी जरूरी है मना कि you know if you feel racism or whatever reason you have to bring that up. You know डरने की जरूरत नहीं है because you have a fundamental right और आपको महसूस हो रहा है कि you are discriminated or you know treated differently because of your race, religion, your color of skin. We have to bring that up. तभी उससे awareness create होगी and तभी people like you, your committee and action plan, तभी उसके काम होगा. So it's a very important our viewers ये बड़ी जरूरी हैगा आ क्योंकि ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਮੇਟੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਐਮਨਾ ਆ ਸ਼ੀ ਇਜ਼ ਐਮਐਲਏ ਫਰਮ ਸਰੀ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਐਂਡ ਆਲਸੋ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਸੈਕਟਰੀ ਅਟਾਰਨੀ ਜਨਰਲ ਆਫਿਸ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਐਂਟੀ ਰੇਸਿਜ਼ਮ ਐਂਡ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਦੇਣੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਆ ਇਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦੇ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਡਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਟ ਇਫ ਯੂ ਹੈਵ ਅ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਆਵਰ ਫੋਨਸ ਆਰ ਗੋਇੰਗ ਔਨ ਦ ਸਕਰੀਨ we have international numbers free call we have 800 number but the local number is 604-695-9555. You can call us, ask her a question directly.
And Sidhu ji, I want to take this opportunity to share with your audience that हमारी province में we have a racist incident helpline. तो अगर किसी ने experience की है racism, ये confidential phone line है where you can get help. और जब से हमने लॉन्च की हुई है 94% of people जिन्होंने कॉल की हुई है were happy and satisfied with the service that they received. और usually हम लोगों से पूछते हैं information so that can better inform our work and unfortunately people are still afraid to share.
So अभी भी number आपको याद है और they can go on a website.
I can certainly provide that number to you so that we can place it on the screen.
But you can go on a website.
Yes.
Before coming here, I gone on the website to find out all about these committees, all about the 37 action plan issues, everything on a BC government's website. तो वो number भी उत्थे होना है. So that's good to know that there is a racist incident line. So ये anonymous line होती है. जिਵੇਂ crime stoppers है. Anonymous lines, you don't have to disclose. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਦੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਸ਼ਿਕਾਇਤ ਪਾ ਦਿਓ and they will keep it at least ਉਸ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਤਾਂ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਨਾ so it's a very genuine.
And they provide support. तो अगर किसी को even legal help चाहिए क्योंकि उन्होंने something traumatic experience किया they provide you with that support. वो refer करते हैं लोगों को जो local services होती हैं कि बंदे को मदद हो जाए क्योंकि हमको पता है when you experience something that severe you don't know who to turn to.
True.
And sometimes people are scared, they're ashamed.
Yes.
They don't want to share with somebody
True,
कि किसी ने मेरे साथ इस तरह किया है. तो इसलिए this is confidential and it provides you with support so that you don't feel alone. और अगर आपको कोई भी counseling की help चाहिए, legal help चाहिए, they can direct you to those services in a very confidential, safe manner. Or guess what? बहुत सी languages में offer करते हैं.
Yes, I think I saw that.
Exactly. So I
15
encourage.
or 17 languages. So ਇਹ ਮਲਟੀ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਇਹ ਫੇਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਡਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੌਬ ਤੋਂ ਫਾਇਰ ਨਾ ਕਰ ਦੇਣ ਜਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਅਗੇਂਸਟ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਬੋਲਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਏ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਨਾਰਮਲ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਬਿਹੇਵੀਅਰ ਇਜ਼ ਸੈਡ ਐਟ ਦ ਸੇਮ ਟਾਈਮ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਵੈਰੀ ਟਰਮੈਟਿਕ ਐਜ਼ ਵੈਲ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਯੂ ਨੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਈਵਨ ਯੂਰ ਬੌਸ ਐਂਡ ਯੂਰ ਸਬਆਰਡੀਨੇਟ ਐਂਡ उसका बिहेवियर इस तरह का है that's not acceptable.
I agree. Yeah.
हाँ जी
बिल्कुल. And how this affects our community at large is, you know, sometimes कभी-कभार लोग कहते हैं कि ये जो anti-racism काम आप कर रहे हैं ये सिर्फ एक छोटी niche सी बात है और you know why don't you focus on other things? Well, this work actually affects our economy. It affects our prosperity. It affects our standard of living, productivity. हमारी community में काफ़ी ज़्यादा entrepreneurs हैं जो अपने skills, अपनी investments करना चाहते हैं हमारी communities में. And when they experience that type of racism that is damaging to them, they retreat. वो फिर नहीं करना चाहते हैं. And that affects what we could potentially be, which is really a very strong province in which anybody who wants to put in the work and participate and invest in our province will reap the benefits of it.
बिल्कुल सही बात है क्योंकि if we look at the our ethnic communities or the landscape is changing but not fast enough. Look at that. Your MLA sitting now on the board chairs and they have to think twice if they speak differently to you. So इसलिए ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. Political process में अपने लोग हैं, बड़ी बड़ी positions पे हैं, ministers हैं, federally member of parliaments हैं. So these things are coming a long way, but there is more work need to be done.
There's a lot more work to do. This plan is not going to eradicate racism. I mean, हमारा जो काम है, especially given the political rhetoric that we see nowadays, and you've seen this in the election of the new conservative leader of the Party of British Columbia, Conservative Party of British Columbia, and the type of harmful rhetoric, especially against Muslim communities, and very much so related to the Conservative Party of BC. This is why I'm saying this work is absolutely crucial at this time specifically. Because sometimes जब मैं देखती हूँ the state of affairs of today, given the type of damaging rhetoric that comes from down south, our neighbors down south,
totally,
that seems to be penetrating the borders and coming up here, this can be very dangerous for people.
Well, they trickle through. Look at that, what's happening in Alberta. We never heard that a province will ever think about voting to separate themselves and leaving Canada. So, जैसे आपने बताया कि साउथ में जो बहुत बात चल रही है, trickle through, and these kind of sentiments, and if we don't stand with our country and as strong Canadians, it's a very important.
Or इसलिए, when we see the very polarizing type of politics that we see now, it makes me sad because no amount of back and forth between an opposition member and a government member is ever good news for anybody. Like, it ends up damaging the unity that we have as a province or as a country. And when you have, certain individuals and groups, like separatist groups in certain provinces, जो government validate करती है, तो our problems become a lot bigger. We have much bigger problems on the international stage to take care of than to be, focusing on any division here in our country in itself.
And then they take a sight of the things like you said we need to do. और उसमें ये लोग इस तरह के जो propaganda और इस तरह के जो mandate होते हैं, I think and hope it will not last very long. But we have to be, have to stand with our communities to make sure it doesn't happen. Absolutely. And the same thing is your role as a, anti-racism and these committees. Can you touch upon, you're on a mental health as well?
Yes.
Because these things, Amna, goes hand in hand. So mental health ka issue is a huge issue. Not in our ethnic communities, but across the board.
जी, and मेरा जो काम है, ये जो anti-racism or mental health addictions का काम है, both interconnected है, especially in the context of how we deliver services here in Surrey. तो हमारी जो support है for addictions care, हमने अभी expansion किया at Creekside Detox Facility, जिधर हमने another, I think, 11 beds add किए हैं कि अगर किसी को भी detox facilities चाहिए on their road to recovery, कि वो वहाँ पे जा सकें और help seek कर सकें. हम अभी, हमारा एक program है Road to Recovery, जिसमें लोगों को बिल्कुल एक seamless stage by stage treatment मिलेगी. It's currently employed in Vancouver Coastal Health, और हम अभी Road to Recovery को Fraser Health में expand कर रहे हैं कि लोगों को, they don't have to wait in between different stages of treatment. Additionally, I really strongly believe कि हमने हमारी local non-profit organizations को support करनी है. Organizations like such, the South Asian Community Hub, हम उनको funding देते हैं और various organizations को funding देते हैं क्योंकि हमारी community के लोग उनको trust करते हैं अपनी problems के साथ, उनकी challenges के साथ. And that connection that they have with community works really well for prevention and for early intervention. So, and that's one-on-one and family-to-family type of connection. So we're very proud to support organizations like that because they do the work to prevent those problems from becoming much larger. अगर किसी को ज़रा सी एक youth को help चाहिए और हम बड़ी प्रॉब्लम्स को प्रिवेंट कर सकें कि वो यूथ कभी भी हमारे हॉस्पिटल में ना आए क्योंकि उनकी प्रॉब्लम इतनी बिगड़ गई है तो वी हैव टू इन्वेस्ट इन दोज अर्ली इंटरवेंशन. तो इसलिए हमारी जो फाउंड्री सर्विसेज एंड सेंटर्स हैं जो हमने अभी खोला है सूरी सेंट्रल में लास्ट ईयर हमारी यूथ के लिए जो एजेस 12 to 24 जिधर उनको कल्चरली सेफ सर्विसेज मिल सकती हैं. अगर उनके पास डॉक्टर नहीं है वो वहाँ पे डॉक्टर भी देख सकते हैं, लाइफ स्किल्स भी लर्न कर सकते हैं और वो एक सेफ जगह है कि अगर कोई भी हमारा यूथ कोई भी शख्स जिसको प्रॉब्लम्स हैं कम्युनिटी में अगर कोई गैंग्स उनको ट्राई टू रिक्रूट कर रहे हैं कि ये एक सेफ स्पेस है सिर्फ उनकी मेंटल हेल्थ के लिए नहीं लेकिन a way for them to be integrated in safe parts of our community जो उनकी हेल्प करेंगे उनकी एजुकेशन को सपोर्ट करेंगे. तो we have to get people out of those dangerous situations and put them in safe productive spaces.
बिल्कुल सही बात है. सो अपने ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਮੁਹੱਈਆ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਲਚਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੇਸਿਜ਼ਮ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਓ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਓ ਇਹ ਕੋਈ ਸਟਿਗਮਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੈ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਹੈਲਥ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਐਂਡ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਬਿਮਾਰ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਢਿੱਲਾ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਵੀ ਕਮਲਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਟੂਣਾ ਕਰਤਾ ਇਟ ਡਜ਼ਨਟ ਮੇਕ ਸੈਂਸ ਐਨੀ ਮੋਰ ਯੂ ਨੋ. ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੈਲਪ ਲਓ. ਇਟਸ ਵੈਰੀ ਹੈਲਪਫੁਲ. ਰੀਚ ਆਊਟ ਆਪਦੇ MLA ਨੂੰ ਕੰਟੈਕਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਲੈ ਲਓ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੀਚ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ. ਰੋਡ ਟੂ ਰਿਕਵਰੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਫਾਊਂਡਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ organization you know when I bring people mental health people with the PhDs and stuff they come on my show and they provide these kind of things because you know I don't want people feeling helpless or you know they don't have help there. Help is there. They need to you know reach out and find this.
और आई थिंक ये हमारी सारी हर किसी की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है क्योंकि अगर इवन ये जो हेल्प है हमको नहीं चाहिए मे बी समबडी वी लव उनको चाहिए होगी और जो हम ताकत ले सकते हैं इन सर्विसेज से मे बी दैट्स लाइफ सेविंग फॉर समबडी एल्स who is in our family or who's in our community.
So Amna दूसरा जब मैंने action to address racism like affecting First Nations, Métis, Inuit people, I like those pillars, you know, the 8 pillars, you know, on a relationship, learning, healing, and capacity building, indigenous representation, and cultural safety. Look at that, you know. There is a lot of information out there. I just able to see that and gone through because I knew it. I'm going to talking to you. So it's you know किस तरह की सर्विसेज वहाँ पे है पॉलिसीज जो डेवलप कर रहे हैं लेजिस्लेशन क्रिएट किए जा रहे हैं सो वी नीड टू एड्रेस ऑल दोस.
यस एंड जैसे मैंने पहले कहा था जो हमारी इंडिजिनस कम्युनिटीज़ हैं वो वेरी एक डिस्टिंक्ट फॉर्म ऑफ रेसिज्म एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं. इससे जो हमारी जो कंसल्टेशंस थी with this anti-racism action plan हमने उनके साथ really एक collaborative approach लिया था that we asked them what is it that you would like to see क्योंकि for many generations हमको पता है कि हमारी governments हर वक्त indigenous communities को कहते हैं कि हम तुमको ये ही देंगे और बिल्कुल पूछते नहीं है is this going to be helpful to you is this going to ever end up meaning anything to your children or your grandchildren. और ये both एक sort of forgetting about the anti-racism lens into some of that work. तो for example, हमने जब हमारी consultations की थी, हमको पता चला था इनसे बातों में कि we really need a Center for Anti-Racism and Cultural Sensitivity within the Ministry of Health. कि वो उनका काम जो है regular जो काम है वो address करें कि first of all, what are the issues that indigenous communities face when they're accessing the healthcare system, जो हमारी racialized communities हैं, so that it's ongoing work. This is not a one and done thing. And so we have to continue that, and we have to do it in a way in which we're already using the existing resources that we have in our ministries.
So ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ politicians ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਅਮਨਾ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਛੋਟਾ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਵੱਡਾ ਨਹੀਂ you have to start from somewhere building blocks so ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ processes ਜਦੋਂ create ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਚਲੋ if we don't think it will like you said it will not happen it will be there in some shape or form but then there is effort made उसका अपने थोड़ा सा भी अगर difference बन जाए makes a huge difference in a lot of people's life.
Absolutely. और ये जो हमारे ये जो commitments आई हैं anti-racism action plan में ये हमने ministries के साथ agree किया है कि within these 2 years you're going to accomplish this. ये agreement हो गई है. तो we want to change the way in which we do anti-racism work. क्योंकि पहले governments कहती थी कि अच्छा हम ये अब इस तरह की racism को investigate करेंगे, analyze करेंगे और फिर 10 सालों में वापस आएंगे और देखेंगे कि क्या होगा. We've heard this over and over again. Now is the time to put some practical goals. ये big shiny goals नहीं हैं. These are practical solutions that affect people on the ground. और अगर ये in the grand scheme of things बड़ी चीज़ें नहीं हैं, well guess what? 2 years from now we can build on this work and have something even more substantial.
Yes. So ਜਦੋਂ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਉਪਰਾਲੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਇਹ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਐਵੇਂ ਵਿੰਡੋ ਡਰੈਸਿੰਗ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਕਰਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ but don't think like that because ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਆ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਦਾ ਫਰਕ ਇਵੈਂਚੁਅਲੀ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਟੇਕਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਸਮਟਾਈਮਸ ਬਟ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਵੀ ਲੁੱਕ ਐਟ दैट वेयर वी आर एंड वी केम लॉन्ग वेज तो वो अपने जो इंसेस्टर्स थे जो लोगों ने काम किया था यू नो एंड उन्होंने लड़ाई लड़ी कामा गाटा मारू देख लो वो जो शिप था यू नो गुरु नानक जहाज वी कॉल इट नाउ उसको रोक दिया था वो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन थिंक अबाउट दैट एंड दैट्स हंड्रेड्स ऑफ ईयर्स अगो एंड so वो process चली धीरे you know like turban issue you know and Baltesh Singh Dhillon is now senator तो उसको discrimination था भी वो अल्बर्टा में I remember I was in Alberta at that time तो उसने buttons create किए थे and put a cross you know on a uniform with the Sikh and put a cross across it so these are the you know clear racist fundamentals there and look at that now we you know one by one you know block by block we are making a difference.
Absolutely. Or जो one of the things that's really important is कि वो हम कभी भी ना भूलें कि किधर से थे और अब किधर आए हैं. I mean it's unimaginable for me to think about the pain and the suffering that our you know seniors experienced, especially here in Surrey, in our South Asian community, especially Sikhs who are visible Sikhs, who wear the turban or articles of clothing, our Muslim brothers and sisters, especially women who wear the hijab. And so really it's a step-by-step process that where we need to be practical, but the significance of it is so much larger. I think what I would say is, you know, as I was doing this work and even on social media, जब मैंने इस तरह की चीज़ें post की थी कि हमारा anti-racism action plan आ गया, the amount of inflammatory rhetoric that still exists on some social media platforms, इसलिए तो लोग जाते ही नहीं हैं. social media पे
and politics
क्योंकि उनको पता है कि they will put themselves in a very precarious situation. लेकिन the work, I have no sort of reservations about doing that work.
I was actually, I mean, believe it or not, I was about to ask, and we were, 4 or 5 minutes left. Yeah. Like, you're a visible minority, you're female, and being a Muslim, and on top of that, what work you're doing, you probably get on social media a lot of stuff that's shouldn't be acceptable.
Yeah, I certainly do. But you know what? I think sometimes politicians say, oh, you have to have a thick skin. I don't stand for that. Yeah. If something is unacceptable, it's unacceptable if it's directed at me or if it's directed at my neighbor. So I think हमने ये जो perception है कि politicians के or elected leaders को हम कुछ भी कह सकते हैं, I don't think that that's the right move. I don't think anybody deserves that. Yeah, जो वो politician हो या कोई server हो या कोई भी teacher हो, nobody deserves any of that. Yeah. And so जब भी अगर if it happens in my presence, so I call it out. It doesn't matter if it's for me or my colleague. And it really I think it doesn't bother me.
and but पर अपने हमेशा कहते हैं जैसे आपने सर्वर हो या कोई भी हो किसी भी तरह कंस्ट्रक्शन वर्कर हो और a politician हो, बात करने का तरीका होता है.
Exactly.
How you talk to people. You can get your point across. It doesn't matter how difficult it is, but how you tell them. Not getting aggressive or disrespectful or.
I think I've never shied away from a difficult conversation. It's as a matter of fact, मैं काफ़ी enjoy करती हूँ जब लोग जिससे मैं बात कर रही हूँ that they actually disagree with me, क्योंकि really it's about understanding कि हमको सब कुछ पता नहीं है. And I think everyone knows
Nobody
this.
Everything.
We're not all omniscient. We don't know everything. And the only way we can move forward is अगर हम उस तरह के लोगों से बात करें और respect करें कि I don't know everything.
हाँ जी एमना अपने पास couple of minutes रह गए आखिर में आप क्या कहना चाहोगे अपने viewers को your final comments.
First of all, thank you so much CJG for having me on your show again. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and for your amazing audience that's watching, I just want them to know कि आपके लिए help available है. हमारी गवर्नमेंट काम करेगी एंटी रेसिज्म एक्शन प्लान के साथ, एक्सपैंडिंग सर्विसेज हियर इन सरी स्पेसिफिकली, लेकिन मैं आपको इंकरेज करती हूँ कि अगर कुछ भी बात हो आपकी ज़िंदगी में जो आपको पेन देती है, सफरिंग देती है या कंसर्न देती है, प्लीज़ रीच आउट फॉर हेल्प. ये सिर्फ आपके लिए नहीं है, हमारी सारी कम्युनिटी के लिए है. और जब आपको ज़रा सी भी सपोर्ट मिलती है तो those who you love will also be supported as well. Because the best thing that you can do for yourself is take care of your health, and that includes your mental health.
Thank you very much, Amna. Thank you for coming. You come on my show and share your views. Greatly appreciate that. You're a young lady, you're a long ways to go, and keep up the good work. So ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ MLA Amna Shah ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਸਰੀ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਤੋਂ MLA ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਸੈਕਟਰੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਛੋਟਾ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਈਦਾ ਹੈ. So she's a parliamentary secretary for anti-racism and for mental health ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੜੇ ਦੋਨੇ very important files ਹੈ ਤੇ being an ethnic community and a part of our community, it's very important that she is handling that file. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ reach out ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰੋ. They are accessible, she is very accessible, and ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਲਾਈਨਸ ਹੈ ਵੈਸੇ ਤਾਂ everything online ਹੈ, ਆਪਣੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਰੀਚ ਆਊਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ. ਸਾਡੀ ਅੱਜ ਕਾਫੀ ਲੰਮੀ ਚੌੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਰੇਸਿਜ਼ਮ ਬਾਰੇ. ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੇਸ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ. ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਬ੍ਰਿੰਗ ਇਟ ਅਪ ਟੂ ਦਾ ਅਟੈਂਸ਼ਨ. ਐਂਡ ਕਈ ਲਾਈਨਸ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਣ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੌਣ ਹੈ. ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਅਨੋਨਮਸ ਐਂਡ ਕੌਨਫੀਡੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ. ਸੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ once again with Amna Shah. She handled it very well and did a good information. ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਰੋ Professor CJ Sidhu show every Thursday from 7 to 8 o'clock. Have a wonderful, healthy, happy weekend. ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਰੱਬ ਰੱਖਾ.